My name is Kelly Furness. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Operation Kindness. I've been involved with the organization now for about 8 to 9 years. I was a volunteer before I started on the staff as the Director of Volunteer Services. So I'll give the background and history of our journey to join Better Impact when we get to that point. And then I have since moved on and am now the Chief Operating Officer for the organization. And Aviana has taken the reins over for me on the volunteer side. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Well, hello, I am Aviana Goins. I am the current volunteer manager here at Operation Kindness. Have done various roles with Operation Kindness from our adoption side, our intake and foster, and just kind of landing into the volunteer department this coming year. I previously was in the social work field, so it's kind of been mirroring my journey here with Operation Kindness.
To give you a little bit of our background, Operation Kindness is a nonprofit animal welfare organization, as it says on the slide. We've been around for almost 46 years. We, at the time that I came on staff, had about 2,000 volunteers in our system. That by no means is how many we had active. We had a lot of people. We had a lot of volunteers, and we were using a different software. Not sure if I'm supposed to be saying those names, but I wanted to change that because when I was a volunteer for 5 years, I also ran the volunteer training program. So I was already using the previous software as a volunteer, and I was also using the software as a non-staff member who was helping to onboard new volunteers. And I could just sense how frustrating it was for the volunteer manager who was on the staff at the time. And it was just very clunky and very outdated. And I knew that what we really needed was to be able to change from Volgistics over to something that was a little more user friendly. We also had limitations in the number of admins that we could utilize. We don't have that limitation with Better Impact, which has allowed us to spread out the work that we do. I wanted to be able to attract newer volunteers into the process by having some technology that was a little more user friendly at that point. And I wanted better support. And as Micah said, Better Impact is global. If I have a question, I can log into the chat feature and somebody's usually answering me within about 5 minutes. So it's pretty great. The risk or my concern of making the change was a good portion of our volunteer pool is a more mature audience, and change is very hard. And I knew that technology changes were up there as some of the biggest challenges that we were going to face with that piece of it. But I knew that ultimately we could get them there. We could help support that audience, but it would also bring in a new audience of volunteers for us. So I did start the search back in October of 2019. I looked at several different solutions. We already were past the spreadsheet points. So for those of you that did answer the question that you're on spreadsheets, I feel for you. I love spreadsheets. I am the COO, so I live and breathe data every single day. As Aviana will probably go, yep, she does. But my biggest concern for those of you that are on the spreadsheets is if you are the master of spreadsheets, whoever's following behind you has to be able to learn and do those same things with those spreadsheets. Training was important to me. There's an e-learning component of it. It's a component I would love to see even get better and be able to advance. I know it's a relatively new feature, but I think Aviana can talk a little bit more to how we utilize that, especially from COVID time periods with that piece of it.
So I played around with logistics a little bit in my previous volunteer roles, and it's definitely pretty night and day moving into Better Impact and my impact. Moving into this role, Kelly really set it up for me to kind of tweak it on my own, but gave me a really good structure to kind of start with. As a department, build 2 or 3 different e-learnings each month. It's really great for our older volunteers who have not yet come back after kind of COVID restrictions have lifted. It also kind of builds up our what I call my volunteer tool belt for our volunteers. So they're learning new skills, they're advancing in our volunteer program. Better Impact has a really good structure to do the training in there. Or you can add links to YouTube videos. You can add, I know different departments, we've been adding Canva pieces in there as well. So there's a lot of different types of training you can add in there to hit the different, of course, different age groups of volunteers, different learning abilities, all of that, which has been really awesome to add, as well as being able to build different activities outside of those e-learnings. It's been able to allow our volunteers to achieve hours in different ways. So our volunteers can achieve those hours from those e-learnings and gaining that knowledge, signing up for training. But it's also able for us to make different opportunities throughout.
And because it's so user friendly, they're able to do that easier than I think they have in other systems that I've seen.
Yes, we've have volunteers from, ages 8 to 9 to volunteers that are in their 90s. And of course, there's a little bit more guidance with those groups, but it's really user friendly for them to kind of get started from start to finish. Better Impact allows us to send those bulk emails to certain groups or send targeted messages to certain groups, and really keep kind of a reoccurring schedule. It also helps us track birthdays. So I like to celebrate all the birthdays as well as anniversaries, which are really important in that volunteer world to really celebrate and appreciate those volunteers. So it's kind of is on my home screen. I can see every day whose birthday's coming, whose anniversary, and it's been kind of just a cute little feature. It's something so small, but just something so meaningful for volunteers, as well as being able to pull those reports of the hours and the impact that those volunteers have been having, which is really great for both the reporting and data side, but just to report for those volunteers on a yearly or monthly basis on, hey, you hit 1,000 hours this month, or being able to celebrate that as a manager in that role is really important. And it's so easy to pull that data really quickly.